Up YouTube, SSJ back with a new video, and it's been a minute, but this is my little Christmas present for y'all, my review for my Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie, which I enjoyed dearly. This was actually a really good movie. I had a little bit of issues with the movie, but we'll get to that a little bit later. We'll first discuss the plot and then talk about some issues that I had with it, some things I liked, and then what's going on with the future of the film, because we know that there's going to be a fourth movie coming out. So first thing first, the movie starts off taking place right after we left off during the second film, which was the end credit scene that shows Shadow in his rejuvenation chamber. After his 50 years, he's randomly woken up by a guard playing the guitar, and then he has his little flashbacks of Maria, the little girl that we know of. And during that time, he beats up the 12 guys that are there, and that's pretty much the intro. Shadow's pissed, and he's on a rampage. And then we move over to Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, who's at Tom and Maddie's house, who decide to have a race. And during that time, they have a little race, and it looks like Knuckles and Tails beat Sonic, but it turns out they're just holograms because it's a distraction for Sonic to have his birthday party, which is something that's heartwarming. And Tom says that it's supposed to be a birthday party to celebrate the anniversary of when Sonic had first arrived to planet Earth and when Tom had taken him in. And they have a little scene stating that Sonic never let his past change him, touching Sonic's heart, in which it flashes over to Shadow during that same conversation, in which he is now in Tokyo, Japan, and he's found by Gun. During that time, Sonic's party is contacted by Gun, and Jessica Jones, actress, then contacts them saying that they need their help to confront Shadow in Tokyo. And of course, that's when we get our trailer shot of when they arrive to Tokyo. And that's when Shadow says, "You're a colorful bunch," to Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. And that's when Knuckles, of course, tries to get angry and fight off Shadow. And then Shadow beats them with ease, all three of them. And then that's when they're forced to come up with a plan. So then Shadow expresses that he hates Gun and wants nothing to do with them nor Team Sonic, and then flees the scene on a motorcycle. And then that's pretty much when the rest of the movie starts to pretty much pick up. Sonic then realizes that he can't defeat Shadow as they are, so then they decide to regroup and go to the Chow Garden. The Chow Garden is usually a famous location, a famous sacred location where the little Chow creatures usually inhabit in the Sonic games, but I guess in this world it's like a boba shop or like a tea shop in Japan. There is a funny scene where there's a little girl who mistakes Tails for a Detective Pikachu, a Pokemon, and that's when Knuckles starts laughing at him. That was pretty funny. So then that during that scene, they're trying to regroup and get some answers. They're attacked by Professor Gerald Robotnik's robot, and that's when one of the commanders, he ends up being killed off by Professor Gerald Robotnik, and that's when he gives his key card to Sonic, and that key card is needed along with another 2 set of key cards to awaken the Eclipse Cannon. And that same Eclipse Cannon is the Eclipse Cannon that Professor Gerald Robotnik decides that he wants to use to destroy the planet Earth, which, unknowns to Professor Eggman, he doesn't know about these plans, and he's just so happy to see his grandfather, he just joins along with it. So there's a little bit of a back and forth between Sonic's team and Eggman and his henchmen, where they're trying to get access and control of the key cards, but they don't know who to trust. They have to split up at one point. But then once Eggman finds his grandfather, he betrays Sonic right away, just like that. And then that's when Shadow appears, and they all escape, and then Shadow throws down a little black hole that sucks up everything in the vicinity. And then that's when they decide to escape using like one of those rings, those portal rings, which are very cool that I like. And then, of course, when they escape, they eventually end up going home back to Tom and Maddie. And that's kind of where the movie starts to become stagnant. This is after the 30-minute mark, where we don't really see Shadow for a majority of it. It's now the human characters trying to sneak into the secret base in London, which that scene was really stupid because here's the thing. They have a device that lets them transform into people, right? But they decide to transform into Randy and Rachel from the last movie, which is, in my opinion, would ruin the last movie, Sonic 2, because it focused too much on the human characters, such as Randy and Rachel, their wedding scene. So we get a little cameo between Randy and Rachel with Maddie impersonating Rachel and acting like one of those angry black women trying to get into a top level clearance security base in London, which is stupid, but they get in somehow. And then they end up seeing Jessica Jones's character, and she ends up getting into a scuffle with Eggman and Professor Gerald Robotnik, and eventually they end up being stuck onto the ground because of something they did with the gravity on the floor. So during that whole debacle, Tom ends up coming through and he gets a security key card and tries to bring it to Sonic, but he's disguised as the commander from earlier. And during that same time, Shadow is pissed and he sees him because that same commander that died is the same commander that had trapped Shadow and put him into a suspended animation for the 50 years at gun. And he's also the one that who told everybody to pull the trigger for those soldiers, making Maria get killed earlier in the movie. So Shadow is pissed and he punches Tom, but he doesn't realize that that's not Tom until he transforms back. And of course, he leaves saying that he had to do what had to be done, and that pisses off Sonic. So now with Sonic pissed, he rushes straight over to Knuckles saying that he needs that emerald because we already know he's about to go Super Sonic and take on Shadow. But of course, there's a little argument that ensues and a little back and forth because he doesn't want to break his promise. But as cool as this would have been, it happens to just be at Wade's house, and Wade's just playing hockey with the Master Emerald. It's just really stupid. So then after he ends up just saying he can't get the Chaos Emerald from Sonic or from Wade, Sonic just comes and grabs it from him and just teleports away. And that's when we get Sonic versus Shadow. Sonic meets Shadow face to face with his gold form, but then he knocks him out of his gold form for a second, and they both grab the ring, both grab the Chaos Emeralds, and end up going Super Sonic and Super Shadow. So this is cool. We get the Super Sonic and Super Shadow. I almost jumped out of my seat when I saw this because it was just like Sonic Adventure 2. So they both go in their forms and they're going back and forth, fighting each other, going neck and neck, almost Dragon Ball Z style. Eventually, both of their forms wear off. Shadow's form wears off first, and then Sonic is still enraged, and that's when Shadow says, go ahead and finish him. But then Sonic realizes that that's not who he is. He doesn't want to become this rageful person based on revenge, and that's when they have a little heart to heart. But they realize the main threat is still Robotnik because he's trying to destroy the Earth, and Shadow now with a change of heart can't let that happen due to the promise made from Maria. So he and Sonic team up in space, almost similar to what they did in Sonic Adventure 2. But it's not against the Bio-Lizard, it's against the machine trying to get it away from Earth, and eventually it ends up hitting a little bit of the moon. And Professor Gerald Robotnik and Eggman have a little scuffle, but that really hurts Eggman because he thought that he had found his grandfather. But he said, but what about me? What about your family? And that's when he tells him, you're no Maria, and goes full dark on him. That was something else too. So in all, they end up pretty much stopping the laser, the Eclipse cannon from destroying the Earth, Eggman does make a sacrifice as well as Shadow, kind of just like in SA2. So in all, I think this was a really good movie. The ending was good. End credit scene, we get Sonic having a race again, but he goes a little bit too far off into the woods, which looks destroyed. And we see Metal Sonic come and show up, and looks like he's about to shoot Sonic, but then he misses, and then Sonic knocks his head off. But then you see like 1,000 other Metal Sonics come up and attack Sonic, almost reminiscent of the Metal Coolers trying to attack Goku and Vegeta from Metal Cooler movie. So you see like a little pink somersault come down and hit one of the Metal Sonics, and a hammer smash down. You already know who that is. That's going to be Amy Rose. She comes down, takes her hood off, and she looked good in the end credit scene. So we're going to be getting probably something based on Sonic CD, where it's her getting kidnapped and maybe Metal Sonic attempting to kidnap Amy, and Sonic having to go and rescue her. But this day and age, probably not though. So we'll see where they go with it. But the second mid-credit scene was just Shadow. You see Shadow dust off his rings, put them back on, so he's still alive. That's awesome. I had issues with Keanu Reeves voicing Shadow the Hedgehog before the movie came out, but he does his thing. He made it work as Shadow the Hedgehog. I think they did a really good job at adapting Shadow the Hedgehog. His backstory with Maria was really well done. It was cute to see on screen. I loved all the scenes that they had together when they were just looking at the stars and talking about life, or when he was in his chamber for the first time and he awakened. She was drawing pictures on it and then trying to like put her hand on it, and he put his hand on it. They were watching movies together. Like, that is what best friends should be. Those were just best friends, and it was just so cute. And it makes his backstory even sadder based on the fact that she passed away so early on, when Shadow was just trying to really learn life. And then Sonic and Team Sonic was good, of course, too. I like seeing Team Sonic together. Their chemistry was great. Seeing Tails as like the handyman, and Knuckles as the strong man, and Sonic is just the one that's the leader, basically. I can't wait to see them in action again as well. They were still good in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie. I like seeing all three of them together after Knuckles had turned over, switched sides. So my gripe is still the human characters were still annoying. I didn't care for Tom and Maddie, because the scene pretty much after they had left them at home, when they went to go take care of the gun situation, I think that they should have just left them at home. We didn't need to see them again. And even then, the scene where Shadow punched out Tom, I think Tom should have died from that. But I get they probably didn't want to kill off Tom, because it would have just made Shadow be a complete, like, irredeemable. But whatever. I think moving forward, I hope we just don't have to worry about these human characters no more. We got Amy now, and we kind of wasted Jessica Jones' actress, because she could have easily voiced Amy Rose, or she could have voiced Rouge the Bat. The infiltration scenes that we had with them trying to sneak into the London base could have been Rouge the Bat, because since Shadow was in this movie, we could have set up Rouge the Bat so he could have had another future best friend, and then hopefully Eggman could have been working on Omega. So unfortunately that couldn't happen, but I'm still happy with what we got despite my grievances. I think this was a well done, well adapted movie. This was overall a movie adaptation in a way of Sonic Adventure 2. A lot of callbacks and references that I caught. They even played the Live and Learn song from Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic and Shadow even do their iconic pose where they're like back up against each other. But in this movie, it's in their super forms, so that was really cool. So this movie was just all around fun. I might even go and see this movie another time before New Year's, but this is definitely a fun movie. If you have kids or niece and nephew that are trying to get into Sonic, they'll definitely love this movie the most, I think, because it has the most Sonic stuff in it. If they want to get into liking Shadow the Hedgehog, they'll love Shadow the Hedgehog in this movie too. Just overall, if you're a Sonic fan, you'll like this movie too. And me, I've been, well, pretty much a Shadow the Hedgehog fan since Sonic Adventure 2. And I've liked this movie. I haven't liked the Sonic movies as much as most people have, but the second movie really wasn't that good to me. But then when I ended up watching this movie, like this movie, I think they took a lot of the critiques that people had with the previous movies and upped it and added a lot more Sonic lore and Sonic references that people would like. And I appreciate that. So I give this movie like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. Maybe even an 8.5, but I think I'm going to stick to 7.5 or 8. So it's definitely a good movie. It's a cute movie, especially with Shadow the Hedgehog and his story with Maria. So I definitely recommend it. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.
She don't wanna be saved, don't save her. 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 She don't wanna be saved.